Hi, everybody. Gosh, that was amazing. I'm crying before I've even started, which is bad news. I shouldn't have been listening to that. That was just, but thank you for sharing that because that was so powerful. Recently, the European Court of Human Rights said something to the effect of that it's an act of violence against women to prevent them from accessing abortion. And I just want us to think about that a little bit. How preventing access to abortion is an act of violence. Try and conjure up some acts of violence. I can do that quite easily. And I'll tell you why I'm standing here today. It's because when I was 18, I was in a violent relationship. I had a horrible, abusive person making demands of me and my body that I didn't want to do. And I conceived a baby in rape. They were acts of violence against me. They were degrading and made me feel pretty low and terrible about myself. And I made really bad decisions on the back of how I felt about myself. And what I want to tell you today is I later went through an abortion process because when I reached out for help, all the words that were said to me were, "We can fix this problem easily. We can take this away. You can go and get on with your life. We can make everything better for you." And the only option was to have a termination. So it seemed. I didn't know the term pro-life. I didn't know that there were people like you, good people, who thought differently. I didn't know there was such a thing from the position that I was coming from. It seemed that these grown-ups that were telling me that abortion was the right thing just seemed to me like they must know what they were talking about. So I went along with it. And I can tell you that abortion is an act of violence against women. It's not terribly comfortable physically, but that's by the by. The issue is it stabs you through the heart and rips your soul out. And it left me so terribly crushed for such a long time because whilst I heard people saying things along the lines of, "It's a fetus, it doesn't feel anything, it's a clump of cells, blah, blah, blah," I heard all that. I think deep down, somewhere instinctively, I knew that it was a baby. And I knew, whilst I didn't like the father in any sense, it was my baby. It wasn't a rapist's baby, it was actually my baby. So I went along with these lovely little sound bites that seemed so generous and so, let's get the problems taken away. And then left myself feeling pretty crushed for a long time. And ironically, something that I felt really strongly about was there was this notion that I was to feel grateful and that I should be glad for what had happened to me, that I'd been relieved of these problems that could have been so much worse. And I just did not feel that gratitude. I felt angry and I felt like I'd been betrayed. But I daren't articulate that. And it was really only through meeting pro-life people and discovering you lovely people that I was given a platform to be able to say, actually, that was a lie. It came straight out of the devil's mouth. And we know the truth, and we need to proclaim it really loudly. The problem is, when people are in a crisis pregnancy, it's a bit like being inside the center of a tornado. There's a lot of noise going on around you, and you just feel totally cut off from everything else. And it's so frightening. And you do feel so vulnerable. So if we don't say this message really, really loudly and very, very clearly, those people who need to hear this message, they just won't hear it. It's the devil is so much more tempting because this evil notion of having a termination, it just seems so much clearer and louder, and you kind of so easy to get swept along. And like that good lady who was just speaking before me, she heard our voice last year, and her story is a happy one, and unfortunately mine wasn't. I didn't see any of you on that particular day, but thank God you're all here today. So I'm just basically telling you, go out there really proudly. And when I say we believe life from conception, no exception, please do not accept when people say except in the case of rape. Because I can tell you the truth, I have 2 children in heaven. 1 child from rape, and I lost a baby last year, and I have 4 children on earth. And every single one of those children are my children. I don't describe my children on earth as my husband's children. I describe them as my children. They are my children, and any human being, whether their dad was a good person or a bad person, is totally irrelevant. And abortion does not heal rape. It does not unrape you. It makes you feel 1,000,000% worse. It makes you feel like what you believed about yourself when you were raped, it compounds it, and it puts it all around you. And you are so much in a darkened place. You cannot heal from rape easily when you have just been through an abortion. You have another trauma to unpick at before you can get through to the original trauma. So we're not going to take any exceptions. There is no exceptions. Say that really loudly and really clearly for me and for all the other unborn babies who are at risk.